Everybody, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm here today with my guest. He is a very special guest. He has founded multiple million-dollar companies. He's driven over $500 million in revenue throughout all those companies, worked with over 5,000 different clients, best-selling international author, and all around just a very nice guy. Here with Mike Radoor. Everybody,
hey, let's get it.
So I want to recap, your story, because you have a really interesting story going from, like you mentioned off camera, like from the ghettos in Denmark, wherever that may be. I don't know what a Danish ghetto might look like. It might be nicer.
It's not as dangerous as you think.
Somebody like crossing the road illegally or something like that. So you went from, the ghettos of Denmark, and you were able to grow these large companies. You've exited some companies, but you also have this interesting story where after you found your success, you went down this path where, you yourself have said it was a negative path, and you kind of had this big realization, and that's kind of led you on to the path you're on now. So would love to hear the recap of, your story, your come up, and the realizations you've had.
Yeah, sure, man. Thank you for having me, Simon. I'm with Simon Shaw. But I'll do a quick recap. So again, I grew up in a Danish ghetto. That is just where, working class people are gathered. There's a lot of crime. There's a lot of multi-ethnical societies there. Moved to Copenhagen, and in Copenhagen became a bartender, then became a nightclub manager, and then I got discovered because I was good at putting people into a dark room and make them have a lot of fun.
Yep.
And then I came up with an idea in high school, I wanted to collect all the mom and pop stores, fashion shops online, but I didn't want to buy the stock. And that business turned into be a $400 million business today. It's called Minto.com. On that journey, I was there for 7 years, and I kind of burned out mentally because I wasn't aligned with who I was and where I wanted to go. And we started to make a lot of money, and my ego started to grow tremendously. I was a young rock star. I was living in 10 countries, constantly on a flight. There was a team there, and I just couldn't control it. Then I sold off my shares. I got a couple of million euros on my account, flew to New York, and started another business, Playbook app, which has actually been mentioned in Men's Fitness 2 years in a row, playbookapp.io. And from there, I moved to Stockholm, and then my life took a hit. So I had a lot of money on my account. I felt invincible, and I just started partying. But I started to hang out with billionaires. I started to hang out with, you probably can imagine a Scandinavian version of Wolf of Wall Street. That was my lifestyle, literally. So you could say I was a functional entrepreneur. And in Stockholm, I became a co-founder in a project that was called Ocast. It was like a business that was doing 100,000, 200,000 a year ARR. So it wasn't a big business, but I had a lot of money, so I didn't care. I just wanted to have something to do. And there I lost track of my life. I started partying every weekend. I started hanging out with these guys. I remember I had my first Porsche was a Porsche 911 4S. And, at that time, I didn't think about money. So at some point, the motor, the alarm started to blink inside that Porsche. I was like, what the fuck? I just bought a new Porsche. It shouldn't be blinking. And my state of mind there was, then I'm just going to go down and buy a new one instead of getting it fixed. Yeah. That was how far out I was. So I went down there, made a shitty deal, got a new Porsche. And my life was like that. And what happened was I remember one turning point of that lifestyle, again, starting businesses, and I was good at what I did. I was good at the startup phase. I was good at getting customers in, and I was not at all as arrogant in my business as I was in the weekends. When I say arrogant, I was just arrogant to life, not to people, just to life. I didn't treat life good. At one point, I remember I was standing in front of a mirror after been partying for 48 hours, hadn't slept. And increasingly over a period of 4 years, I've had this voice constantly coming to me, like, you should change, bad conscience, really bad conscience. I woke up with hangovers very often in a city, in a country. I didn't know where I was when I woke up. And I just had this voice. And at one point, I was standing in front of that mirror. It was so loud. It was so painful. It was so anxious that I literally felt, okay, either I'm gonna change this lifestyle or I'm gonna jump. That was how painful that was. So I decided to change. I moved to Marbella. That could have gone sideways.
Yeah, that's
right.
From the frying pan into the fire.
Right, yeah, exactly. But I came to Marbella. I fell in love with the mother to my child. And here I slowly started to transition into a new lifestyle, and I started to coach people in a healthy lifestyle. And I did that for a couple of years. But that coaching business, I was so kind, I didn't even know who I was myself. I still had some bad habits. I could go out and drink once in a while. Once in a while, I could take some substances. I've taken all the substances you can imagine. Now, that's my story. Yeah. And from that experience, I figured one thing, how I was a pathetic professional. Here I am promoting health. And I'm sitting there and sniffing a line of cocaine with some rich dudes, and I'm promoting health. Who the fuck am I?
Yeah.
So it took me some years to wake up in that. And when I finally woke up, I realized, fuck, man, I need to coach myself and find where I was and coach that type of guy. And in the meanwhile, I've learned so much self-mastery with myself because I've gone through such a big transformation, which also ended up in my book, Above Average. I started to really to know, okay, where was it that I did all the mistakes? And who could I have been if I knew this when I was building my businesses? So I started to take an honest approach. That was a big gap for me, to stand in front of a camera on social media and talk to myself as if I needed it the most, which was brutal honesty. Like I needed someone who could look me in my face and say, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I could finally do that because I had come on the other side where my vices was gone, my habits were solid, alcohol is out of my life, substance definitely out of my life. I'm pure. I'm just listening to that voice. I call it God's voice, the good conscience. I'm literally aligned with that. So if it says, listen, remove this cup, I remove that cup. Hold the door from Simon, hold the door. Stop, say I'm sorry. I'm just listening to that voice, which in the beginning is very hard because it asks you to do a lot of right things that is very, very hard. So that's what I do today. I coach men.
You know what I think is impressive about that and why there's actually value there is I always say if you want to find the right answer or the most accurate answer, you got to go to the extreme example, right? So if you want to find out about the downsides of like a hedonistic lifestyle, maybe from like a rich guy, listen to someone like yourself, listen to someone like Dan Bilzerian, because he's kind of come out the other side of like his hedonistic kind of lifestyle. Now more kind of on the track with you are now, like kind of realizing, needs to get clean. He's, religious now, I guess. Yeah. He has some, crazy stuff online, but, he's, if you want to find out what that path looks like, you go to the extreme example. There's no point listening to a guy who made a little bit of money and then did a little bit of partying. You want to speak to the guy who made a ton of money and did the craziest partying, did all the negative stuff that you could possibly do and came out the other side of it and realized, now he can actually tell you about that experience, right? God, yeah. And I think that's where the value that a lot of people can find in your story. I wonder, what do you think is the catalyst for, you exited your shares, you got a big chunk of money in the account. What do you think was the catalyst for you to slip into this negative path over the years? Like, what do you think happens to men in that point when they get that money? Yeah. What is it that causes them to fall into that spiral rather than like spiraling up? What happens to a lot of guys that spirals down?
Well, first of all, I think it comes from, first of all, you don't know your values. So you have no idea what is right, what is wrong. You're very adventurous and you're constantly looking for another kick. So you kind of get bored. I got bored. Things were too easy for me, I thought, but I was only giving it half-ass. I have to look back and say, well, I wasn't bored. I was just busy getting away. But for me, it was the constant hunt of external validation. That was it. I was hunting external validation. I never felt good enough. I just wanted to be validated from all my possessions and how crazy I could be. I was the guy who didn't go to sleep for 3 days. I was the guy with the most sexy chick. Look who I'm bringing to Ibiza. I was the guy. So that was external validation, and that doesn't have a stop. Because, dude, I just have a couple of million euros. I'm shit compared to the guys who has a couple of billion euros. So you just figure out at some point that is so destructive. For me it was. But it's an adventurous, curious, like life is a buffet. So when you get that amount of money and you haven't aligned yourself and you kind of a little bit lost. And when you then meet people where you look up to them. I looked up to them. I looked up to the billionaires. But they just had bad habits. And it just becomes normal to sit on a Friday lunch, and then someone brings up a bag of fucking whatever what that is. It'd be like, oh, well, I don't have to work today. Okay, give me one of them. And you go to a party or you take the flight to a party. That becomes normal. And that becomes, oh, wow, that was the kick. You remember when we were 17, the kick was to get drunk without telling our parents?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Same kick. You're just older and more lost. Yeah. So I believe it is external validation and lost sight of true value in life. Yeah.
What do you think is, do you think someone has to go through that? Like, do you think you can avoid that from the beginning, or you have to have a little taste of it to avoid it? Because for me, I feel like, I had to get blackout drunk a few times to realize I never want to do that again. Like, you don't know how bad it can get until you go. Do you think somebody has to go through that, or is it something that someone can avoid from the beginning?
I don't think you have to go through that. It depends on where you come from. For me, I always been an extreme. And where I grew up in a ghetto, and the family traditions in our place. My dad is, my dad is the best guy. He's the one who taught me most about love, but he's schizophrenic paranoid, right? And my mom, she's lacking a little bit empathy because of her childhood. So we were not, you couldn't say, I will never blame my parents, but we were not grown up in a safe environment. So we had to find love another place. So I found love in external validation. So I think every person's story differs. But if you start on that track and you have this wilderness within you, yeah, definitely, I think you should put the speeder to the pedal. You should really just press that speeder. And this will be the most terrible advice I can give people ever. But if you have that in you, you better figure out what that is. But if you ask me again 2 years down the road, I would say, nah, you better not. But you can't stop that guy. If a guy wants to go down that road, he will. And sometimes you got to hit rock bottom until you can wake up. And some people are just installed with, okay, there's no break. And they take that path they take.
What would you say? What's your advice for someone who is kind of at rock bottom? Like, what's the first step for them to start getting their life back on track? Like, what did you do when you were at that level? You're like, I need to start getting back.
Oh God.
What was the first actionable step,
Wake the fuck up, take an honest, objective assessment of yourself and ask yourself, who do I want to be? Because when you are in that lifestyle, you feel like shit. Like you're not feeling good. When you wake up and you've been doing stuff that your consciousness has told you, it's just eating you up. It's called, in spiritual world, it's called karmic debt. You're just building up a debt of bad consciousness with bad consciousness, and you're trying to run away from that. So if you are at a point where you've been, first of all, if you drink alcohol every weekend, that's a fucking weak, for me, it's a weak escape. If you have to drink alcohol to speak with a lady, you're a pathetic loser in my eyes.
Yeah.
You're not a man. If you have to sniff cocaine to get in a contact with some other guys, you're again in a getaway. So, I lost.
What's the path to recover? What's the path to get off rock bottom?
Yes.
The first steps.
Sorry, I just realized you guys have books on the table. Do you want to put that on the shelf?
No, here's fine. Here's okay.
Because we're mainly using this camera, that camera, and if this camera's we use that every so often.
What do you think?
Oh, it's okay. It's
You sure?
Yeah, because sometimes we'll cut to the wide shot, and then
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. All good.
All right. So what path? How do they take?
First
What's the
steps to
first step?
recover.
Yeah. So the first step is for you to look at yourself and figure out, who do I want to be? That question people don't take. They don't really know who they are. Like, who do I want to be? So, for example, nobody ever told me, you kind of grow up and you want to be like people you meet. And in the beginning, it's your father, right? My father was not existing, so I found other figures that I wanted to be like, and I was often very drawn towards criminals in the TV, the way they were promoting the Scarface, and I thought that was cool, but I didn't have the guts to be a criminal. So but I had that in me, that little ghetto, easy life way of living. So when you wake up, let's say you wake up one morning, you hangover as fuck. You've been together with people that you actually don't like, and you look in the mirror and be like, oh, fuck, man, right? You said stuff to people you didn't want to say. You did stuff with people you didn't want to, because that's what you do when you're drunk. You do stuff you don't like, right? You're out of character. You're out of alignment. At that point, you just need to ask yourself, who do I want to be? So that's the principle I live by. Acquire what you admire. Acquire what you admire. But at that time, I was lost because I admired the guys with the bad habits, because I have never seen people who were cool, had strong values, high moral standards, and what I call a real man. I never saw that. So when I started to realize that it feels so fucking terrible to be who I am, okay, who do I want to be then? So I had to look for it. So I just started to look at athletes. Okay, I like athletes. I like Cristiano Ronaldo. At that time, I liked Conor McGregor. I liked Muhammad Ali. I liked Mike Tyson's story too, how he got clean as well. So I looked at them and I started to study them. So I think that the way out for you as a person is to figure out, who do I want to be? What attributes do they have? What character traits do they have? What values do they have? And then just internalize it. But the way I got out of it is I started reading, books, really heavy books like philosophy, Stoicism. I started reading a lot about Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, and I started to read one passage in a book every morning. And then I started to just rewrite it with my own words. So I started to really understand what it meant. So I imagined myself having this rule. For example, there's one thing they say, and that is, focus on what you can control. Like the only thing you can control is your thoughts, your actions, and your reactions, and detach from everything else. I cannot control where I grew up. I cannot control your opinion about me, but I can always control how I handle myself. What is my character? What is a good character? So I started studying that, and I just started living it. And that gave me a validation from another planet. I started to validate myself from the inside instead of the outside. So I didn't fucking care if I had a Porsche or if I had a Rolex or whatever watch I had on my arm, Audemars Piguet. And I started validating who I was towards others. And I think your way out is that you need to look at yourself as who you are and look at where you want to go in life. Okay, where you want to go in life, what does that demand from you? And typically it always demands you have strong values.
It's funny, it's interesting what you said about philosophers, right? Like this knowledge has been around for like thousands of years, right? But every generation like makes the same mistakes, because I think especially these days, reading is not like promoted in general, right? It's like everyone's on TikTok, they're on Instagram. Like you ask them like a deep question about a particular subject and they just don't know, right? Like you can't have intelligent conversations with most people these days because they're not well studied, they're not well read. They don't pick up, meditations by Marcus Aurelius and read that, or they don't, read the Bible, for example, and listen to all the lessons in there. Like this knowledge is literally thousands of years old, right? One of my favorite things to do is, and I'm not like extremely religious, but I'm definitely religious, right? Like I'm not, a Bible basher, as we say in Ireland, but I'm definitely religious. And one of my favorite exercises is you take the book of Proverbs, it's like the self-help book of the Bible, right? It's like meditations, but in the Bible.
Yeah.
And it's not that thick. And you just think of whatever problem you're facing and just randomly open a page of Proverbs and you just start reading a random passage. It's probably applicable to it.
Oh, God.
Like, it's crazy how applicable that is. And that's like 2,000, 3,000 years old.
Yeah.
That knowledge. Marcus Aurelius, I think he's like BC, like he's before.
Yeah, it's Jesus. Like 2,000 years, yeah.
Yeah, 2,000 years. Like, that's been around for 2,000 years. But people, they just don't study this stuff, right? And they make all the mistakes. Then they come back to it later and they're like, damn, like that was the answer. It was there the whole time. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whereas people nowadays, they like you said, with the criminals, right? They glorify these rappers that are like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to steal your chick. I'm going to make this drug money. I'm going to do, I'm going to do all these bad things. And like, yeah, love that. That's sick. He's cool. He's a G or whatever. That's what they think a real man is, right?
Yeah.
But you have a different definition. What's your definition?
Man, if you look at that, that's the easy life. So, and just a quick note, people are so fucking asleep. People are so much asleep. People are so fucking weak. And, if you look at all these books, which I figured out the hard way, is that those books are there for a reason, but they're also the books that have been haunted forever. Why? Because it gave the power to the man. So Caesar, he couldn't fucking do anything to the Stoics because they were strong. They were just accepting anything they could not control. And they stood against that. The Bible is one of the most haunted books in the world. It's banned in so many countries, and all these scriptures has been trying to be destroyed by powers because it gives people the power to stand firm in your strong character. So when I look at people today, when I look at myself, people are so addicted to their comfort. And that makes sense because, 200,000-300,000 years ago, that's when Homo sapiens, we came to Earth. Yeah. Like I think the first human race came in 2.5 million years ago. And if you look at the environment 200 to 300,000 years ago versus today, we have the same fucking brain, Simon. The brain in me in your head is the same brain that was most like to 0.1% maybe differ. That was 200, 300,000 years ago. What was the climate differences? What was the environment differences? It's just within the last 100 years that we have gotten this convenience and comfort that we have. This is 0.03% of the time this brain has been in the world. We are dying from all this comfort and convenience because we are wired to seek towards comfort. That has been our survival.
Yeah, we haven't evolved.
We haven't evolved. And here we are. We can fucking order food to our door. We can regulate the heating in our house. We have cars. Everything is so comfortable. That's why 70% of the Americans are overweight. 70%.
Yeah.
63% of the Europeans are overweight. And it's just hypocritic. Like, women want a confident, ambitious, and loving man who knows his values. I don't know any men. It's very few men who are actually confident. It's very few men who actually have strong values. I'll speak on my own behalf. Men are so fucking weak.
Yeah.
Because we are so comfort seeking. But I don't blame them. So instead of reading books, we listen to audiobooks. How many of your fucking audiobooks can you remember?
A decent amount.
Yeah. All right. People can't remember that shit. They can't remember unless you study that. Study, I mean, okay, you get a good advice. You take it and you think, okay, that advice I got, I'm going to implement that in my life. If I do that, how would that look? That demands you to sit down and think,
study.
right? And study it. But people, they fucking cleaning and doing all kinds of stupid shit, or they are running and listening to audiobooks. You can't remember it. That's not studying. This is surface skating.
Yep.
All right? I did the same. Okay, but if you're in a study mode and you listen to a good podcast and you take that advice and you study it, okay, now it works. So the way I see right now what the biggest problem is, if you ask me, that is men are getting so weak. We have forgotten what a man is. When I say that doesn't mean we have to be idiots. A good man is not an idiot. A good man is a person that takes care, protects, and makes sure there's a safety around. Okay, with me, you're safe. I'm stable. I'm fucking stable. Like, men are not stable when they go and they drink their heads off. Most men, when they get too drunk, they cheat.
Yeah.
That's just a fucking fact. And most women, they leave men when they are not confident and stable. So I understand all the women I've been with, they haven't been feeling safe because I was out there getting drunk. So I just believe, and if you wanna live a really good life, you have to really dig deep within you and figure out, okay, what is a good value? Okay, what principles do I have to live for? So you can have the power to say no to a vice. What is a vice? A vice is a self-destructive habit. Right? That's what the Stoics also said. No vices. They were fucking extreme. They were so good at choosing purpose over pleasure. They have no idea.
Yep.
All right. And we are built to that because in 200,000 years ago, we were hungry all the time. We had to fucking struggle to get our food. So we are wired to fight for things. That's where we find purpose. We find purpose in growth.
Yep.
Right? So people are happier when they grow, but do we grow nowadays? No, we sit in front of Netflix and we're watching probably this podcast,
These are the good people. You guys are studying.
Yeah, so study this shit, right? So our biggest enemy right now is comfort. And everyone, listen, every guy I know out there, Simon, every guy I know, and if you're not saying this, if you're saying, no, that's not me, you're full of bullshit. Every guy I know wants to have a physical, healthy body, a good-looking body. I'm not talking about, you don't have to be a bodybuilder, but a healthy physical body. Why? Because it shows that you have your shit under control. It shows discipline. It shows that you are a man, a physical, healthy body. And most men also want to have the money so you can afford to supply for your family.
Yep.
But none of these motherfuckers want to pay the price.
Yep. It's that discomfort.
That's discomfort.
Like, you said something, and I was actually thinking about, what I'd like to elaborate on, and you literally said it. It's like you find purpose through difficult things.
Yes.
Right? That's literally the only way to find purpose. When I think of, I'm lucky, when I was growing up, my dad put me into rugby, right? Which is a very tough sport. Like, I played rugby probably for 18, 20 years, something like that. And I played to like a decently high level. We won a lot of like provincial championships. Like, our team was like the number one team for 3 years in Ulster, our province in Ireland, undefeated for 2 or 3 seasons, something like that. So we like understood what it took to get to a higher level, right? So our coaches were incredibly like tough on us, right? We would go And the weather in Ireland is horrible, right? It's always wet. It's always cold. It's just disgusting weather all the time. So, but you have to go and train, right? So our rugby club was on top of a hill. So like the weather would just batter this hill, and we would be out there like -degree weather every Wednesday night, every Thursday night, like multiple times per week. Yeah. And we'd be training like madmen for like 2-3 hours, like crazy, rehearsing all of our drills and whatever. And it was tough, you know?
Yeah.
Because our coaches would just beast us the whole time. And so I learned, like as a teenager, that you go through the hard stuff and then you win the championship, right?
That's it.
Like, because the championship was just, it was a series of games which were won by a series of showing up every single day to the training field and just doing the difficult things that they were pushing you through. And through that, you realize hard work equals results, right? It equals results. And so thankfully, I kind of had that mindset inside me from relatively young, but so many people, they don't get put through difficult things, no. So they never learn it. So whenever they eventually feel that discomfort, they shy away from it because they never before went through discomfort and achieved something, right? Because that's a negative feedback loop, right? They have discomfort and then they shy away.
Yeah.
So they're training their self to reach discomfort and immediately retreat.
Correct.
Whereas like a champion or someone who wins or makes a lot of money results, they feel the discomfort. They realize this is my area of growth. I need to keep going, endure this pain for however long it takes. And eventually either the pain will go away and I succeed, I get used to it, or you just push through it entirely and you reach that goal, right?
Yeah.
And today they just don't have that. The general population is so used to getting what they want without doing the work, right? They're getting the pleasure. The pleasure should come from winning, but the pleasure nowadays comes from eating like shit, watching Netflix, not going to the gym, sleeping all the time, drugs, alcohol. And you're right. Like the weakness in men is, I think that's the biggest problem in society. I think the media is responsible for it.
No, we can't blame them. It's definitely ourselves. But listen, the problem is this. So we accommodate our friends' weaknesses. If you want to be a fucking terrible friend, I accommodate your weaknesses. Oh, Simon, you know what? It's okay. It's okay that you are 20 kilos too fucking overweight and you feel terrible. You're a good person anyway. That's a fucking terrible friend. A good friend will look at you and say, Simon, man, you can't possibly feeling good being that overweight. You can't possibly waking up feeling good. See, that's a good friend. But we accommodate each other's weaknesses because none of us actually knows what it means to step it up. So this is how it is. People, they conform so extremely much because we are in a capitalistic system where, especially in the West, we can get a fucking job. We don't have to have much intelligence. You can get a job, you can get your bills paid, you can get comfort, you can get a house. You don't have to fight for shit anymore. Now we meet some crazy ass motherfuckers who just want to fight for their life. All right, and looking at them reminds us how weak we are. So what do? We start to point fingers at them. Oh God, this guy must be obsessed. This guy must be a prick. Okay, look at Mike. He must be a fucking prick. He wakes up early. He takes care of his shit. They try to find something on you because it's so painful for them to look at.
Jealousy.
It's insecurities, right? And the funny thing is this, you know, I get a lot of people coming into my DM, and I'm telling them the hard truth. This is the only thing that works. I just figured that, you know, if I'm too kind to people, it breeds the lack of accountability, right? So I tell people, listen, my goal is your fucking result. I don't care if you like me. The truth is that you are pathetic, and your wife thinks you're pathetic, and you're 30 kilos overweight, and you're pointing fingers at people who's actually doing it. That's pathetic. You need to fucking change. I can help you. Okay. Then there's people coming into my DM, and this is a real story. That's just happened today, and they are liking a lot of the stiff stuff when I'm kind of giving these hard truths, and I'm literally speaking to another person without telling the person's name, but I'm speaking to that person indirectly from a message that I got. And then I have a lot of people commenting on it, and that for me is like, okay, well, maybe you need some help too, especially if someone comes in and says, dude, you're too rough. And now I definitely know I'm hitting something because it's not. Listen. I'm just honest. I'm just honest. The truth is, if you want to receive your results, you need to fucking fight for it, right? And losing weight is a simple recipe. Yep. It's actually a simple recipe, but it's such an emotional roller coaster where you get out of your comfort zone. Yep. Being hungry, people can't fucking be hungry anymore.
Yep. They can't.
And they can't be bored. As soon as they're bored, Marabu.
Yep.
Right? That's what we do. So this person comes in and says, I think you're a little bit too rough to us. I said, how can I help you? What is your struggles? No, I don't have any struggles. I just know this guy has fucking struggles. So I take a look at his profile picture. I can see he's overweight. I can see the way he posts his pictures. He's insecure. And I feel, dude, you can become confident. So I just hit him. And I said, tell me, what is your biggest struggle? I don't have any fucking struggles. And I pulled out a picture. I said, you telling me this is not a struggle? You know how cruel the world is to overweight people? It's just the truth. The world is fucking cruel to overweight, lazy people. It's cruel.
Yeah.
You get bullied. You can't. And I kept coming at him. At one point, he turns around and said, you are a mean-ass motherfucker.
Yeah.
I said, no, I'm just honest. See, I hope this guy will come back to me because I will help him. And this is it. When we need to change, we need to take this objective assessment and look at where we are. If I didn't do that, Simon, I wouldn't be alive.
Yeah. That guy will come back to you eventually and thank you for that. Because people, they're too prideful. You know, they think that they haven't made mistakes. And like I said earlier, like they cope, right? They're like, I didn't make a mistake. I just, I have this life because of X, Y, Z that happened to me. Not my fault, whatever. They can't take accountability for the situation they're in, right?
No.
And so when someone confronts them with that, it's extremely uncomfortable. They feel like you're attacking them personally, and they can't see through. They can't see through it to reflect it back on themselves.
No.
So,
you remove their biggest comfort, their biggest addiction, which is their comfort.
And the only thing they can say is, you're mean. You're mean. It's like, yeah, bro, well, tough love, right? Because the mean people, they do not care about your feelings. They see it objectively, right? They just see it objectively. And also, you should never take advice from someone who isn't in the position that you want to be in.
Oh, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, if someone is not in great shape telling you to get in great shape, it's like you're throwing. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, like the Bible says something like judge lest ye be judged or something like that, right?
But listen, this is what I see. This is pathetic. Listen, we do interventions on people who are taking too many drugs, right? That's what we do.
Go to rehab.
We do interventions. Dude, you are too fucked up in the weekends, sometimes also on Wednesdays. Please go to rehab, right? And we do that to alcoholics as well. And we call them alcoholics and we call them drug addicts. What about, we can't even say fat people. So we don't do interventions on fat people. But they're the ones who is slowly eating themselves to death.
Yeah.
And they're losing their confidence. It's the most unhealthy, slow death you can possibly imagine. You can't call them fat, but this is fat. You are a food addict. You need help. We can't do that. This is pathetic. The way I look at it is like this. So if you have a person that is your friend and they have a problem, you should address it with respect and with love and help them out. But we have gotten so far in this society that we are even putting overweight people on sport covers.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. Like models, Victoria's Secret fat models.
Like, come on, man. Listen, if you're looking into and I don't have anything. I love all humankind. I just want to help. And I do that with tough love. But if you look at the lifespan in the world has become longer. It's bigger. We're living longer thanks to machines and medicine. But the health span has become shorter. We're living more sick. And we're living with sicknesses for a too long time. So this is a comfort crisis.
Yeah.
So we are in a comfort crisis where we have so much comfort that our brains can't fucking control it. And that's why I decided to coach men who really, wanted to get rid of their self-destructive habits and start to become a good person for their community, someone that comes with good energy and good values. I'm not saying you should get out there and get ripped, but it's a fucking advantage if you're ripped.
Yeah.
It just is.
Absolutely. Like, I think, earlier you said you can't blame the media, right? And I do agree with that 50%. And here's why. So first of all, I believe everything comes from inside, right? You should be your own motivation. You should build your own values and run your life based on your values. But like we said, people are weak, right? And people don't have that inner guide, right? They just don't have that. They look to external things to guide them, right? So they do what celebrities tell them. They do what politicians tell them. They do
Correct.
what other people tell them. They don't have their own inner direction, right?
No.
So companies profit off that. They capitalize on that, right? Because essentially, and I'm the biggest capitalist you'll meet. Like I love capitalism, right? But one of the problems of that system is you can now profit off negativity, right? So now we realize that, and I'm a marketer as well, so I understand like psychology quite well, and maybe I'm part of the problem because whatever. But
I don't think you are.
No, but marketers in general, like we are the ones who are creating the campaigns that push a product, right? That push a product to make money, right? And if we can identify a niche of people that, you know, and we can sell them unhealthy things, like we're selling an unhealthy food.
And it's within the law.
And it's within the law. It's all legal and whatever.
You'll do it.
And we're making, you know,
You'll do it.
These companies, yeah, they'll make hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, right? And corporations, these massive companies, they have no loyalty. They have no morals, no ethics, right?
They brought in Kellogg's Frosties for kids.
Yeah.
They give sugar to kids.
Yeah. And they will, one year they'll be, yeah, we're all about like skinny and shit models. And then the next year they're like, damn, these charts are showing us that fat people will buy a lot of our product. Boom, fat models. Now we're pushing fat models. It. Now we're pushing these negative things.
And they're just literally exposing them for making money.
Yeah.
So that, for me, that's cruel.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Peterson also mentioned this.
Yeah. And so that's why I say, you know, maybe not the media is the right word, but, you know, just society in general is also at fault, because most of the people in the world, I think, are kind of like sheep, right? They don't have their own inner guide, right? They have to follow something external, and big companies, they capitalize on that by pushing the negative products, right? Yeah. Which is why you need to build that internal thing. You have to go through the discomfort, build your own internal values, and then you can see the world for what it is. Like, because now I can see, you know, a destructive habit. And we spoke about this privately, you know, last week or 2 weeks ago, which is I can now identify the leading indicator of a bad habit and just not do it, right? No. I love candy, right? That's like, I love candy. I love sweets. I love like sugary sweets, right? But I never buy them.
That's good.
Because exactly. So
that's control.
Exactly. So I can identify the first step. I know if I can avoid that first step that leads me into the habit and just not do it, I'm good. I don't know how to play poker. I'd love to play poker. You know, I'd love to wear a tuxedo and a cigar, play some cool James Bond poker. I'd love that. But I know if I know the rules, I'm much more likely to start gambling a ton of money, right? I don't know how to bet on a UFC fight. I love the UFC, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how to bet on a fight.
They didn't put you there.
I don't know. I don't understand betting odds. You know, I understand it a little bit, but I don't know how to calculate how much I'm going to win. I don't understand horse betting. I don't even know how to find, you know, hard drugs. You know, I could probably find some weed if I wanted to, but I don't even know how to find like Coke or something like that. I just never got to that point. I've never actually bought a pack of cigarettes in my life. I have smoked cigarettes, but it's always ever from somebody else. I never buy like a pack and smoke the whole pack, right? If I ever have a cigarette, it's just a friend's like, cigarette, boom. But I also haven't smoked cigarettes in over a year, right? So I can identify the first step and just cut that right there, right? If people don't want to eat, if people want to get skinny, just don't fucking buy the food, man. You know, like the food is like, that is the problem. It's like you are in the store and you buy the shit.
But the problem is you can't sit at home feeling hungry.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's your fucking problem. Listen, I can
just drink water.
Yeah. But it's boring as fuck. Don't get me wrong. So this is what people don't understand. It's not supposed to be comfortable all the time. If you want to have whatever you want to have in your life, a goal demands actions. That does not have emotions. So that took me a fucking long time to realize. So what I started to do, I started to practice on myself. Okay, how can I put myself through tough situations without destroying my life? Okay, I can wake up early. That's tough. Wake up 4 a.m. That's tough to wake, because I have to say no to a lot of things. I need some sleep. Sometimes I get 3-4 hours of sleep, but that's my own punishment. Okay, what's the first thing I do when I wake up? I jump into an 8-degree cold ice bath. You know, that's from a Japanese Mirusoki, I think it's called, where you put yourself through something that is very hard to your system. So I go into that first thing. Okay, that's hard. Did I survive that? I survived that. What's the next thing I do? I study my mindset. I put positive things about the mindset into my mind. Knowledge, because what is controlling us? That's our fucking mind. Then I work out, I track my calories, and I have no vices. This is what I coach people. This is 5 habits. If everyone listening to this podcast, if you do this shit, you don't even need me as a coach. But your problem is they can't hold themselves accountable. They can't.
What's the positive things you're putting in your brain in the morning? What do you do there specifically?
So right now I'm studying the manual from Epictetus. I'm studying then for the 5th time. So I just take each passage and I rewrite it and I rewrite it and I think about how can I take that in. But you will be amazed how that passage will develop into your new consciousness. So where I was a year ago, dude, it makes totally new sense for me today. So it's just layer after layer after layer. So what I do if I'm not into those deep philosophical books, I will read a book about positive mindset. It could be, Tony Robbins books, it could be Bob Proctor's books, whatever that has something about your mind where you can get some, belief into you. Because the only thing that can stop your will is your will itself. It's all the fucking stories you're telling yourself. You know how many people who comes into my DM and they say, you don't know my story. I don't give a fuck about your story. You're a human being with a brain.
Yeah, and there's people with worse stories than you.
It doesn't fucking matter. That's the story you need to let go of. So you're just like me. You just have different stories, and your stories is stopping you. I don't give a fuck about your story, with all due respect.
Yeah, I mean, your reality is what you choose it to be, because like, what is like reality? Like people have so many constructed things in their head that you can why not choose to believe in something that benefits you,
God,
right?
Yeah.
Even if it's maybe not objectively true, like try to believe it, and then eventually it will become right. Like one of the first things I did when I first sort of started chasing entrepreneurship 7 or 8 years ago was. And I came from a regular, like middle-class family. No one was really entrepreneurial. The most entrepreneurial person was my grandmother. She owned like a countryside, like convenience store, right?
Oh,
like
nice.
Not a big business, like selling newspapers and things, right? So I didn't really come from like a family that, pushed this entrepreneur stuff. So I had to really rewire my brain because I was in the zone of the traditional path: school, university, job. That's it, right? So entrepreneurship, you have to rewire to think more in that way, more like an entrepreneur, more like someone who needs to push themselves rather than seeking a boss to tell them what to do, right? And so one of the things that I did was I heavily used vision maps and affirmations. And I thought it was like, and again, I came from a place where that stuff is like, oh, that's cringe. I felt cringe doing it, right? But I was like, but this like helps me, right?
That's fucking crazy, right? You felt cringe for something that's so healthy.
And this is something about the Irish mentality is that if you try to step out of the box, everyone's like, who do you think he is?
Well, that's
who does
everywhere.
he think is? That's it's especially in Ireland, right? Like people close
smaller communities are like that.
People close to me were like, if I was listening to an audiobook without my headphones and they heard it, they were like, what the fuck are you listening to? You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
God, yeah.
And then you have to push through that, right? But I used affirmations, and what I did was I wrote down a full page of things that I wanted to be and I wanted to have, and I wanted to have these qualities, these confidence, this ability in particular.
What made you do that? This is interesting. What was the trigger for you to do that? Sorry for interrupting.
To do that exercise.
That exercise, yeah. Where did you get that from? How did you get into that?
It was actually from a sales program that somebody gave me access to. I didn't even pay for it.
Self-development program.
Someone just sent me a link, and it was a sale. I was trying to learn sales. And they sent me the thing, and the first module was pure mindset. And I was I went through the full thing.
Okay.
And, two of the exercises, some of the stuff I didn't resonate with at all. Just like, I don't think that would work for me. But the things that worked for me was the vision map and the affirmation. So I would write, I am, confident. I have this ability to close a deal. I have, and I wrote it all in present tense as if I already have it.
Exactly.
So I have this, I have that. I have a net worth of X. I have this, I just wrote that full list. Every day I would write it. Blah, 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 blah. It was just a full page. And it was like, a small page like this, maybe 30 lines or something. Write it all the time. And I would print out a vision map, and it would have the car I want, the lifestyle I want, different visual representations of what I want to have, the body I want to get. It was literally a guy with a good body. It was the picture of like a world map because I wanted to travel.
You were fucking manifesting.
Yeah, it's manifestation. And
you just put that into your mind.
Yeah. And every day I would look at it, right?
Yeah.
And I've got like dozens of notebooks that I've used over the years, either for journaling or just for lists. And I found my old one, my first one, which is from that time period. I saw the old vision map. I have about 3/4 of the things on that vision map, right? Some of the stuff I still don't have, but obviously, I'll work towards getting it. But it just shows that what you put into your mind, it will come true. And as unlikely as you think that it can come true, just do it anyway. Because look, you look at these people like the extreme performers, the Ronaldo's, Bezos, Musk.
They all do this.
All these things.
Constantly.
These guys, and okay, some people maybe started further ahead. Like, for example, Bezos gets $1 million from his parents, but still turned it into 100 billion or whatever, $1 trillion company, whatever Amazon is now. They have the same resources that you have.
Yes.
They have the same time in a day that you have. They have the same brain, like you said, that you have. There are a few things that fluctuate, like some people are genetically gifted, but every single successful person has the same amount of ability and the same amount of time in the day and opportunity to do what you want to do. Yes. And some people started from lower than you. You know, like some of these football players came from the slums of Brazil and now they're making hundreds of millions of euros a year.
Yes.
You know, some entrepreneurs came from minus, 100 million in debt or whatever, and now they're super rich or whatever it is that you want to apply to it. If you're starting from like a regular life, you are much more likely to reach an extreme lifestyle, an extreme result.
Everyone can become millionaires.
They can.
I'm telling you, it's not that fucking difficult. You just gotta, and this is, have me excused here, Simon, but this is what people don't understand. You put up a fucking goal. You sit down, figure out what does it take to get there. You might not know in the beginning, okay, but now you know approximately, and then you just go all in on each point. But that's what people can't. They can't go all in. So because they're too comfortable. And that's what I'm trying to teach people. And and I've been trying to teach this in many, as I said before, I did a masterclass for Le Rocher's University, master executive students here in Marbella. And the professor, it's the first time anyone had called me this, and that was a professor. She said, Mike is fucking Steve Jobs within self-mastery. That was a beautiful one. But the reason why she saw that in me is because I came into their students and I called them out on their bullshit. I'm probably the first one who has ever done that. I called them out on their bullshit, and they learned the most. So again, what I really saw here was, because I've coached entrepreneurs in different things. I've done so many things in coaching the last 5 years, and nothing fucking worked until I could find a simple recipe for these people to practice what? Persistence, discipline, and consistency. Those 3 things you just have to be good at. And then you need to have mindset training to understand what those affirmations and shit, that's mindset, right? You put that in yourself. And then every day. That's why I'm sitting here in your podcast, and watch me 5 years from now. I'm going to be one of the fucking biggest coaches in the world. I am going to be one of the biggest coaches in the world because I want it. This is mine. It's already in my mind, And that, when we can get that out to people, remove their comfort zones, I think the world will be a better place, honestly.
And I think that's actually a good way to segue into, what is your strategy or approach going to be to growing the coaching brand, like focusing on personal brand, on things like that? Like why is personal brand, so important in 2025, essentially, for entrepreneurs, people that want to get ahead, yourself personally?
So I can tell you what I realized just in 2 weeks, right before we met each other. So I have been trying to build a personal brand on social media for 5 years before I spoke with you 2 weeks ago. And I've done everything you could possibly imagine. Nothing fucking worked. And dude, I'm a good looking guy. I can talk, I can do, but nothing worked. I could post 5 times a day. Nothing worked until I figured out what that was. I wasn't me. I wasn't authentic. People want to have authenticism. People want to have you. People, it's not like people, they wake up, today I'm going to have a workout program. I'm going to have a coach. They don't. They wake up, I want to be like that motherfucker. People want to be you. Right? And what is it people want to be most free of? Other people's judgment. And I'm going to be that motherfucking guy who's going to show them, I don't care if you judge me because I do my shit. I know who I am. You can call me what the fuck you want. I know I'm a good person. I know I stand up for myself, all these things. So what I believe really builds a good brand, a strong brand, of course you need to have strategies, right? You need to have people like you who can help you to escalate it faster. But you need to be yourself, 100%. 100%. And what I always been, if I was sitting, let's say this podcast was off, and I didn't find my authentic self, because that's what I am in this podcast now. I would talk to you like this, but when the camera came on, I would be like,
change, And you were talking like this before the cameras and on our call and everything.
I had to almost kill myself to get to that point, to say, what the fuck is going on? So. So with all the skills I've learned over the years, all the businesses I've built, the biggest learning for me in a personal brand is, be authentic. Find you and go all fucking in, and don't be afraid of what people they say. There'll always be people out there that can resonate with you. You just be you. But people are too comfortable, too scared. They can't even fucking live up to their own promises. They break their own promises all the time. They cheat on themselves. Today I'm going to take the tough conversations with my girlfriend. No, not today.
Not today. She's in a bad mood today.
She's in a bad mood. You know what? Tomorrow I'm going to go to the gym. fuck, it's raining, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna eat candy tonight. Oh fuck, I'm tired, you know.
Candy.
We can't. We are fucking weak.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I want to teach men.
Yeah.
And what is it? You know, the world needs fucking leaders. And I'm not gonna say I'm gonna be the guy who's gonna educate leaders, but I'm gonna teach men to lead themselves by at least be your fucking word.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think something I tell clients all the time is actually just what you said. People do not care about the things you say or your knowledge. And what ultimately will make them become your client or your customer or work with you is, can they see their future desired state in you already?
Yes.
Right? So they look at the personal trainer with a great body. It's like, I'm going to work with him because he is in the body, the shape that I want. Yes. Or he has achieved, you know, I'm going to work with this, you know, fight coach because he has won a championship, you know, and I want to win that as well. Right? Or I want to grow this particular business. I'm going to work with this guy because he has done so. He has exited his business, hit this certain revenue, right? So people don't want your knowledge. They want what you have,
yeah.
Right? And so if you cannot embody that through your personal brand, you're never going to have clients, right? Like I work with some, you know, gurus, right?
Yeah.
And some of them have these amazing lifestyles,
You're
right?
going to work with me too.
Huh? Yeah. We'll make you the biggest. So I work with some gurus and they have these amazing lifestyles. They're in Dubai and Miami. They got the cars, they got the watches, they got the whatever. And, you know, their product is to sell a business opportunity. It's like they sell like a program that helps people start this particular business that they start. And then they're like, I don't want to, you know, I just want to like talk. I don't want to like show off like my life. It's like, well, then how does anybody know that you've done it? You know, like, sure, like, you know the most, like you're the most knowledgeable guy. And like, you know, you can go on podcasts and whatever, and you can say your knowledge and people's going to get it. But if you don't show the fruits of your knowledge, if you don't show the results, like they don't want to talk about the money they made. They don't want to show the car that they own and bought in cash. It's not fake.
Unless they cheat in taxes, I don't fucking understand it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and these guys, you know, live in Dubai and whatever their situation.
I know guys who doesn't want to be on a camera for very good reasons.
Yeah. There's people like that. But, you know, when you're trying to grow, for example, a coaching business, if you're not showing the results of what you preach, you're never going to grow a business. So like you, for example, you know, I looked at your story earlier. It's like you posted it like 5-6 hours ago. You were up early. You were doing your cold plunge. You were, you know, today you maybe didn't work out, but maybe yesterday at like early in the morning, you were working out. You're practicing what you preach. And so if somebody sees that and they're like, Mike knows what the fuck he's talking about because he's doing it and I can see it on his story. And that's the most important thing.
That is, and I learned that. And you're so fucking on point there. So this is another thing I learned. I learned that you got to remind people over and over again.
Yeah.
Like you think, oh, okay, but that depends on your strategy. But I have to remind people, this is what you gotta do. Mm-hmm. This is what you gotta do. And at some point you'll be like, I said this a fucking 1,000 times, but that's gonna be a good story too. I told you 1,000 times, dumbasses. This is what you're gonna do. And, you know, it took me a while to get there.
Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge for you to be authentic is that you haven't taken this objective assessment on yourself and figure out who the fuck you are. Because if you are too vulnerable to other people's opinion against you, that means you can only make, this is a universal law, this is a law of attraction. You can only make people feel how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
End of story. So if you pick up the fucking phone and you don't feel like what you just said is the shit, don't post it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't post it. Like
100%.
Literally, if you're not in your high peak state right before you post on your story, don't fucking post it on your story. Okay, you can try out a lot of reels, etc., but get yourself in that state. And you can only be in that state if you're you.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, you know, we talk a lot about biggest problem with men in general is that weakness. What do you think is when you are consulting sales teams, for example?
Yeah.
What do you see as a salesperson's or sales team's biggest issue?
Yeah. They are fucking delusional. They are lazy as fuck, comfortable, do not understand what it takes to, because they try to avoid all the things, they know what they need to do. Come on, don't tell me, you're a sales guy. You know you need to pick up that fucking phone and call that client a little bit extra, a little bit more, a little bit more. You also know you need to study fucking sales books. You also know, you already know it. So this is, I believe we are, so I'm a vessel for God's, you can call it universe, voice, whatever. You know, I really fucking, and I learned this from one guy in America, Wes Watson. He taught me this shit, right? He really taught me that because he was right. I'm a vessel for a voice that tells me exactly what I need to do. So in a sales team, their biggest challenge is the culture that the leader has created. So if a leader creates a culture where it's okay to clap your hands when you get a index 80, dude, I would get outrageous for all my sales guys. 80, you're not 100, then I'll be quiet. Index 110, now I clap my hands, right? So it all depends on the leader in the sales department. But the biggest challenge in sales that every sales guy at some point gets fucking lazy. That's it. So what is sales? Sales is a numbers game with skills and network game. That's it, right? And salespeople think, this is my biggest conviction, salespeople think that you're going to be a good salesperson if you're just saying a script. You're not.
Yeah.
People are energy people. If you say a script and you don't fucking feel it, the guy on the other end of the phone, he will feel it. That's why they say smile when you call, right? So if you are confident as a man, everything you touch will trust you. If you're not confident as a salesperson, you won't sell. That's why it's so difficult, because you lose confidence after no, after no, after no, right? You lose confidence. Fuck, I can't sell. I don't know what to do. But if you have other areas to get your validation, which is not external, if you get your validation internal, which I teach people, you are confident no matter what the fuck you do. I can fail. I don't give a shit if I fail in this coaching business. I really don't care. I'm confident. I'm gonna figure it out. So that's their problem.
Yeah, I think with sales, it's interesting. Like when I started to learn sales, I was first started, listening to Grant Cardone, these kind of people. Funny story. So I actually closed, and so the British way of selling is the opposite of the American way of selling. By the way, Americans are very in your face, like aggressive, like objection handles, like all that stuff. UK, it doesn't work like that.
No.
They don't have that, that.
They're so denial in UK.
Yeah, it's a different.
They are. You can't say the truth.
Yeah, they are. But it's a different style of selling. So I was studying the American way and then tried to use that in Ireland. It didn't really work. But I did use. I was listening to Grant Cardone's Closer Survival Guide book, right, which is like a super old book, right. And I went I was like 19, and I went into like this business to sell them some social media stuff, and I literally used one of the closes from the corniest close you could ever imagine. The corniest close. I can't even remember what it is, but I remember sweating, like crazy. Like, am I about to say this fucking, silly close or whatever?
That was bad.
And it worked. It worked. And I was like I was wearing like a blue shirt. You can sweat in a blue shirt, And I came out of that meeting. It was like from here to here, just sweat. But
you didn't like it.
The corniest clothes.
But what was it? What was it? Was it just because it was boundary breaking for you? Because it was. What was it?
It was just.
What did you feel they would probably think of you? Something, right?
And I knew they did think it was stupid, but they seemed like a young guy that was trying.
Got it.
And they bypassed it in them. I could see it in their face. They were kind of like, give me like that look and like that smirk. They're like, what is he saying? But they could see that they seen that I had confidence and, other stuff I knew what I was talking about. So I think they just, went past it.
Confidence, yeah.
And it is the confidence. But with sales, one of the biggest issues with me was when I started doing, sales over, over the internet, like COVID times and before, was I was trying to sell by a script.
Yeah.
And this is also a big mistake. I was using a B2C style of selling in a B2B environment, right? So, over the years, I find that, the objection handles in a B2B world, they will get you kicked off the call, sooner than anything else, right? Yeah. Like business owners buy a lot more logically than consumers do, right? So with like a fitness product, like you can tap into like, so, what's holding you back? Why do you think it's holding you back? What do you want to be in the future? And what's that going to do for you? And how's your wife going to think about that? If you tell a B2B business owner, like, what's your wife going to think when you implement a new lead gen? So they're going to be like, fuck off,
Like that's ego. Yeah,
but that's, that's like, and I didn't have that I never paid for a sales coach. I just learned through pure repetitions, right?
Pure mistakes.
But if I had hired a sales coach, then I would have immediately known not to sell that way. I would have learned to sell more logically and logistically in a B2B environment rather than going this B2C. Like I remember I was having the weirdest conversations with business owners like, and why do you want to do that? And they're like, well, I guess because I want to grow my business. Like, tell me about the thing, tell me about the system, Now it's just like, sales is just,
crumbling my toes here.
Can you afford it? When do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Do you understand it? Is this something you want to do? here's the thing, here's how much it costs. Do you want to do it? Yes or no? Like that's.
I figured the best way to selling to business owners, number one, is to actually understand what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish. Like really put yourself in their situation. Number two, really try to figure out if your product can actually fucking leverage for them, and if it can, figure out places they do something well. All right, okay, I can see you do this well over here, and then figure out where your product can fit in where they fucking suck, and you just say it.
Yep.
Like I've sold so much, and I said, listen, guys, dude, Tom, I can see you're doing well here, but I can tell you over there you fucking suck.
Yep.
And I have a product for that. You want to speak or not?
And it works that way.
It does, because they are EBITDA driven.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
And if you come in with confidence, but first of all, that takes a little longer time. So you need to spend more than fucking 2 seconds just finding the email and the name.
Yep.
You need to actually put yourself in their shoes. But it's worth it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I also find that in sales, your product can solve, say, 30 things, right? Like one particular product, like if it's going to grow your business in a certain way, right? It could help in 30 different ways, right? Yeah. And some people, I see that they get on a call, and I used to like business coach people growing their agency, and I've seen this a lot if we were like reviewed their sales call or whatever. And the prospect would say, I want to, I'm interested in this thing because of X problem. And then the business owner or the closer would then start talking about why it solves Y problem. It's like, well, they just told you the problem that they want to fix. Why are you trying to talk that it's going to fix another thing? So that's like one of the biggest secrets of sales. Like I recently, last week we brought on a new client coach in the US, and he's doing, I think, like $2 million a year or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And he was trying to put out his content for his personal brand, and like his content like sucked, like it looked terrible. He wasn't saying the right things, whatever. But the only thing he cared about was like, I just don't have time. He's like, I don't want to spend like the time, like I don't have time for this, right? So I could have said, what we do, it'll make your content look better. You'll say the right things. Blah, blah, blah. All I said was, we just do it all for you. You don't,
got it. Yeah.
Like you have no time. Cool. Like this is perfect for people with no time, because we have this other client. He records 1 time per month. And boom, like he has his content. He also doesn't have time. So like this is all set up for you to get what you want without spending the time, right?
Yeah, brilliant.
And if he had said, I just can't make my content look great, but I have all the time in the world, then I'm like, well, then our stuff is going to make your stuff look great, and like we can work on it all the time if you want, like whatever they say.
But that's good. You also have that solution. You have the flexibility,
Exactly.
because
like,
some people doesn't fucking have time.
They lie. Yeah, they lie. Well, sorry, I misunderstood what you're saying. But like
some people doesn't have time,
yeah.
And some people they do have time.
Yeah.
But if you have both solutions, then that's good.
Yeah, and you have to have the solution. Like some business owners, they lie about the product to fit what the person wants. Right?
Oh God, yes.
So never do that. Never lie, because then you're just going to churn negative word of mouth.
It's karmic debt.
It's karmic debt.
It's karmic debt.
Yeah. And I had a closer once, and he did lie to a prospect once, and they came in. They're like, I thought this was this. Thankfully, it was only like a $2,000 product that we were selling, so I refunded the guy. But then I had to have I'd reviewed the sales call, and it's like, this guy's just lying through his teeth. I had to fire the sales guy. It's like,
I'm telling you, this is one big lesson for me in the spiritual, and this comes from a man, Simon. That I've done so much shit in my life. First of all, I still have a list of people I have to call and ask for forgiveness. This is one of my big things that I'm doing. I still have that list.
Yep.
Because I'm cleaning up in this karmic debt.
Yep.
Every time, note this. Every time you lie, just the slightest motherfucking little lie, this universe here will grab it and say, out of alignment.
Yeah.
And that will build up to a karmic debt. Mm-hmm. When I figured out I lied a lot. Small white lies.
Yeah.
Small white, and they are getting hurt.
Yeah. Yep.
So I had to adjust that. Have you ever heard this one before? The road to hell feels like heaven, while the road to heaven feels like hell. Mm-hmm. So what that meant is that it's so easy to lie because you avoid the reality, right? Mm-hmm. And that feels good to lie.
Yeah.
To take that conversation with that person when you fucking need it, that feels like hell. Mm-hmm. But that's the road to heaven. Mm-hmm. So I figured that. And I started to doing that in my sales and everything. Also right now in my DMs, most of my system is built up by DMs. I'm chatting with them in my DM. And if people come in and they ask me a question, I can feel, okay, I could actually sell it if I said that. That would be the old me 3 years ago.
Yep.
Now I'm just like, dude, I can't fucking do that. I don't think that's what you need either. Mm-hmm. That turns into a sale.
Exactly. That's also another sales hack, is if you admit the negative, it builds the trust, right?
That's the truth.
Yeah.
And if you can't buy it, I get another one.
Yep.
Honesty, man. Honesty in life.
because people are so
weak.
They're so weak, and they don't even see they think they have to lie to get a sale or anything, right? But people don't realize that honesty is so rare today that when you are honest, even about something negative,
so valuable.
Yeah, even if it's a negative thing,
yes,
then people are like, "Fuck, he admitted something bad about his product or something."
Respect.
He must be truthful about the other stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like we had somebody come through, and they were like, and a while ago we were building content teams. We kind of parked that a little bit, and she was like, "Has it ever not worked out?" I was like, well, a couple of times we've had to replace people after a few months. They didn't, work out or whatever, and we just replace them. Like sometimes it doesn't, and they're like, "Okay, well then, thank you for that," and then they eventually work with us.
Okay,
right? So it's admitting the fuck, because nothing's perfect, and when something is too good to be true, it probably is. Like, it's perfect, nothing ever goes wrong.
Oh
blah,
God,
blah, blah, blah.
That's just a big. I agree.
Yeah, here's the results you're definitely going to get by next week.
Listen, I'll tell you a funny one. So you talk about business now. I'll go into a private life. So because I've lived this life I've lived now, I'm so honest. I've never been more aligned. I can't be 100% aligned because I still make mistakes, but I correct them really quick. Right? That's my big difference. And now when I meet women, the first question you get from a lot of women is that, have you been with a lot of other ladies? Mm-hmm. First, I'm thinking, that's a fucking ridiculous question because either you force me to lie or you don't want to hear the answer.
Exactly.
So I'm just telling the truth. I stopped counting at around 1,000. Yeah. Honestly. The funny part is the real girls, those who are real, like the real ones, they're like, oh, thank you for being honest. They appreciate that. Because why ask a question where you don't, I used to say, no, not that many. A couple, and they can see it and they disrespect. That's a lie. It's a karmic debt. I can't change my past, but I can fucking change who I am in the next moment, and that's what I'm doing. Yeah. And that people appreciate. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then that's the man we need to be. We need to be that. The world needs honesty, transparency, and authenticity. And we need to be able to call. I will never call. I don't call people fat because I don't like people who are fat. I don't care. I don't know you, but you're fat.
Objectively, you are fat.
You understand? Mm-hmm. And if you look at all seriously, the negative effects of being fat, it's so loud that why the fuck would you choose that? You don't, just because you're not aware. Mm-hmm. See, that is me just being honest. Mm-hmm. And I believe in honesty, and the world needs more honesty, especially within coaching. There's so much bullshit coaching out there that I'm about to puke. Surface coaching. You know how many coaches who go out there and say, you know what? I'm going to structure this meal plan for you so it's going to be very, very nice and comfortable for you to go through.
And you can have pancakes 3 times a week.
That shit
and blah,
fucking
blah, blah.
won't last. Yeah. Teach them to track their macros and tell them either you do it or you don't fucking want it.
Yeah, absolutely. You tapped on something good there, which is with relationships and men and women. I think nothing makes men lie more than women, like being around them and trying to get women.
God, no. But listen, women like what they hear, like men like what they see. Yeah. That's why men, they lie, and women wear makeup.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Right? But if you're an honest man, so this is it. So I got a daughter, Simon, right, a year ago, that changed my life to another level, right? And I'm getting emotional. I promised that little lady to show her how great men can be, and a great man ain't fucking lying.
Yeah,
a great man ain't fucking lying.
Yeah,
and the more you can be honest to yourself and you can be honest to the people around you, you are so much more trustful and you are so much greater to the world. And I just wish that men came by me or another person that can teach them not to fucking lie, because they will get more success. They will get quality relationships. They will get self-confidence that will be shining. And and that's what I figured. Wow, it took me 37 years and a child and a lot of fuck-ups to realize just what? Honesty.
Yeah, just don't fucking lie.
Fuck.
And I think most of the world's problems can be solved by doing what you're doing, which is raising kids the right way. Having the dad in the life, and I think that's a problem with a lot of young guys. I think mostly in the U.S. because they have a really high single mother rate or whatever.
I think in the world,
in the
Western
general.
world, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just men like dip out because they lose that, again, that sense of accountability, which has disappeared more in the last maybe 50 to 100 years. But before then, it was like, you know, people would get married young, they would stay together for a long time. Divorces wouldn't really happen. They're not as easy. Divorce is also a crazy topic because it's like it's a whole industry which is designed to.
What we want to be the best at, we're the worst at.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like,
but I'm no angel. Listen, so I'm separated with the mom to my daughter, and you know all these things. But again, that was because I didn't know who I was when I found her. But what we have decided, this is just a decision. You know, let's say you go out and you find a girl, you marry, and you separate. Be cool.
Yeah. Don't have animosity.
Fucking be cool. Right? You can always choose to be cool. Especially if you have a child. Be fucking cool. Right? Stay cool. Stay honest. Clean up your own shit. And don't talk bad about the other person. Stay on your own path and just be cool. That's what people can't. People, they talk so much shit about each other. As you know what, you know this, you know that. I'm just like, oh God, grow the fuck up. Let people be who they are, and you be who you are. Control what you can control.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When I can, you know, when I'm in a relationship, which I am currently, you know, I'm very anti like negative talk. Like if complaints start happening over nothing, I'm just like, listen, like we need to be careful. Like words, your choice of words really matter. Like some passive aggressiveness every now and then, it comes from me too. Like I'm not like you said, I'm not a saint. But
nobody is. Okay,
you know, nobody's a saint. No one's an angel. But you have to be so careful about, you know, the things you say, the words you choose. Like so many relationships have these like negative, very subtle negative barbs at each other, right? You could be out for dinner with like a few couples or whatever, and you just can notice the subtle little, maybe the girlfriend will say something ever so slightly passive aggressive. Oh, he loves you know, a bit of cake. You know, it's like, oh, like that's a small, like you said, karmic debt.
Yeah,
that's like a debt in the relationship where it builds up. Where
everywhere,
it's like you should avoid negative comments, especially about your other half, as much as you possibly can, because there's no benefit to it. It's also
never
like,
talk shit about the people who anyone.
Yeah,
to be honest.
And it's also like there's the phrase which is never bite the hand that feeds you, right? And in a relationship, you're like feeding each other, right? Like in some form or another. Like one person is giving to you, you're giving to them, so, right? You're both the hand that feeds each other, right? So if you're gonna start saying these negative things every now and then, you're literally biting the hand that is giving you something that you clearly want, right? Which emotionally, physically, whatever it is, like just don't do it. It's like everyone knows it doesn't end up well.
It's a virus.
It is a virus.
It's contagious. You know, that's just something people they do. They see it on TV. They see it in reality shows, and they don't understand that we are just one big plan for the consumption of capitalism. That's what we are. To be honest, you know, I turned my story into my reality show because I know that's what people want.
Yeah,
people want. You know, I try to put up so many connections points that I possibly can. So you know, and every day, so people, and of course, I try to follow so I don't get like 200 views on my 100 stories, but I still do that. And people, they love to fucking watch what you do. And they're so stupid. They're like, oh God, are you sitting in a new car? Don't you have better questions? You know, I'm a life coach. But that's what we love. Right? We love to nag in other people's life. Unfortunately, there's just so many reality shows out there who is so timed for having people with bad behavior.
Yeah. Like
right?
Because the dating shows and the
dating show with
Love
guys
Island,
are fucking,
whatever.
Yeah. Oh God.
It's a bad one.
Oh God. Don't mention that. Love Island. Oh God, that is so ugly.
You know what's even worse than Love Island? There's one called Temptation Island. You
oh
heard
God,
of this?
Oh God.
Where they literally put couples there to cheat on each other, you know? Like that's the whole point. Like, and I see couples that go on it. Like, why would you do that? Like, are you so obsessed for fame and attention that you're literally gonna?
Oh yes, they are.
That you want your spouse, or you want to put your other half in a. First of all, it shows a sign of a weak relationship anyway, because they come on the shows like
weak people.
Let me see if my boyfriend will cheat on me. It's like that's not a healthy thing to do anyway. But still,
do you remember Jerry Springer?
Of course, yeah, Jerry Springer I think might be a bit more scripted, but still, people love that stuff. They love the drama, but you know. Drama aside, when you talk about sort of reality, and we can link this back to personal brand, right? Which is you have to understand the mediums that people love to consume stuff in, right? Lifestyle and this kind of reality show always does better than actionable like advice, like unfortunately, right? And you have to decide, okay, what is my product and who is my audience, right? So that's why when you look at, for example, a lot of big business gurus, their vlog channel will almost always push way bigger numbers than their advice channel.
Yes.
So they'll have two different channels. One will be for their lifestyle, their vlogs, like, you know, POV, you know, week in the life of a multi-millionaire, right?
Yes.
And these 40 minutes of him living luxury, right?
Yes.
Traveling here, there, everywhere. He'll have his other channel, here's how I made my millions or whatever, and that'll have a fraction of the views.
God, people
right?
don't want to watch that.
So it's different, you know, it's different audiences for each product, right? So if your product is mass market and where it's very what you're selling is very aspirational, for example, like possibly like a business opportunity product or like make money kind of thing, you do the lifestyle, right? That's for like a B2C kind of product. For a B2B product, which is like you're selling to other business owners, it's not that. It's the tactical.
It's the knowledge. It's just if they look at your profile, oh, this guy is very knowledgeable.
It's the 20-minute, you know, long video of you talking to the camera, getting tactical, the boring stuff. Like we said, people don't like the boring stuff, but business owners, when you can listen to somebody for 20 minutes, you're bought into it, and you also can see that if the guy's full of shit or not, because 20 minutes of straight talking about a topic, you'll know pretty quick if they know what they're talking about. It's funny you mentioned
that, Simon, because I tried for 3 years to do what you're saying. You're very good at what you do, apparently, you know. But because what you're just saying there, I trialed out.
Yeah.
So I tried for 3 years to give good advices, and I'm deep as fuck, you know. I've been reading a lot. I coach a lot of high level people, but I came across on a channel where people don't want that. So I was blaming the algorithm until I figured out the algorithm is just people. Who the fuck am I? It's people. So on Instagram, what does people want on Instagram? Well, first of all, just look at that. Like, they want to have big boobs, rich life, cars, etc., and they want to have hard truth, controversial shit. So I didn't see that. So I kept on putting out this nice guy with longer reels and and it was valid stuff, but I never grew. 2 weeks ago, I started to be my authentic self, and you know, I'm losing a lot of followers, but I'm standing still because I'm gaining the same amount.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And now, of course, there will be a strategy. We definitely need to talk, but there will be a strategy on how I build up my feed, etc. But that's what I didn't understand. I did not understand personal branding until I became authentic.
Yeah. People think that they need millions of views, right? You really don't. Like,
really don't.
If you get 1,000 or 5,000, think about how many people that is, right?
Dude, if you have 100 likes, that's a lead list.
Yeah, literally. You can DM all those people.
That's what I do. Everyone.
Yep.
Dude, you watch my fucking biceps here. Let's, you know, if I'm sitting with a beautiful chick, you watch me in this gym, dude. Let's get you a chick, man. Let's build you up, man. You know, it's a lead list.
Absolutely.
But people don't dare. People don't dare to write a DM.
Yeah.
Have you noticed? People are like, I don't know. They just like my photo. Can I write them? You fucking text them. They're in your shop.
Yeah, literally. And that is, it's interesting you said that, because that is like a little secret sauce that people don't know. It's like every like you get is literally a potential DM. You look at the profile and it looks like a legitimate, you know, profile and a person that could be a client. Boom, matches up. And it should never be a pitch. It should always be social interaction, right? Which is like, hey, I saw you were following me.
Just be like you would do in the supermarket.
Exactly.
And you know, I'm in my DM 20, and this is also another thing. People are, I'm going to say it again. People are so comfortable. In other words, let me hit them with negative, then people wake up. People are so fucking weak. You know, you want to grow a business, understand you have to work. You can't come in as an entrepreneur with a fucking 9-to-5 mentality. I'm in my DM from 6 o'clock in the morning to fucking 10 in the night. I'm DMing people while I'm driving. Sorry, police. I am, you know, DMing when I'm taking a fucking dump. Yeah. I'm in the gym. I'm there all the time.
Yeah.
And people are like, okay, I know you can meet Simon, you can automate it, etc., but you can't take the personal touch.
Yeah.
You can do some smart things with ManyChat, etc. I get it, but the DM, you know, I signed 4 elite clients last week. That was from DMing.
Yep. It's
dude,
honestly so underrated.
That's a 15,000 euro revenue.
Yeah, it's underrated. It's so underrated.
People are wake the fuck up, guys.
Yeah, and like, if you always have to look at what the people ahead of you are doing, and all the big guys in coaching and personal branding and online stuff, whatever, they're all doing this. I actually followed one a few days ago, I think.
Yeah,
and he obviously had someone in his account. It wasn't him, but I got a message from that account. pretending that it was him. It's like, hey man, I saw you followed me, blah blah blah, and like, look, I know, I know,
I'm the guy,
yeah, and I just didn't respond, right? And then the second message was, oh, by the way, this is actually me, not a setter, haha. And I'm like, well, I don't know, man. Like, send me a video then, like.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Second message, my rule, I always send a video.
Yeah, and say their name, like a voice message.
Yeah.
It's like,
what's up, Thomas? How you doing, brother? Yeah.
Yeah, because then they know it's real, right? Then they know it's actually you. But the DM strategy is, I've signed some of my biggest clients just by DMing,
There you go.
And, we're running ads currently. And because of the nature of our packages, we don't get that many leads because we're targeting like 7-figure, 8-figure entrepreneurs. So it's really expensive per lead. So get a handful every day. It's not enough for me to have a full-time setter doing it because you can't keep them interested with a few leads. I make 3-4 calls a day. It's like 12 o'clock. I see a lead come in, boom, call them up. Sometimes they're unqualified, but then yesterday, literally, I called the guy, and it wasn't yesterday, it was Monday. And I was like, hey man, Simon Shaw here from here, saw you opted into our thing, like wanted to call you up, see how we can help you. And he was just like, whoa. He was like, bro, what he literally said was, I respect your attitude or something like, I respect your approach because I'm the business owner calling them. Right. Yeah. Turns out this guy was like a personal trainer for like celebrities in Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
Had like trained like he said Terry Crews and all this stuff. Like, who knows? But that's what he said.
Got it.
But you never make these connections and these potential clients if you just won't do the work. Right. And so many people that I have worked with are scared to get in the trenches because they listen to the entrepreneurial advice like, remove yourself from the business, automate it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, but you're not
you are the business.
You are the business. You need to be willing to get your hands dirty.
It's not you are your personal brand.
Yep.
God damn it, Simon. When you say this, I crumble my toes and I can't stop to interrupt you. Because you know what, people are looking for an excuse for justifying the easy way out. In your head, you know what you should be doing. Mm-hmm. Just fucking learn to listen to it. But people have not learned to tell the difference from your intuition. Your intuition is the voice of knowing what to do, and your comfort. That's your ego telling you to get away with the easy stuff. My voice has told me, be in your fucking DM. I don't care if you just get out of shower, say hi to this dude. It talks to me. Then my ego says, dude, you just came out of shower. What if he thinks you're gay? Yeah. It talks to me. I'm like, but I'm listening to this voice now. Yeah. So I do that. The guy says, dude, respect, man. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. He just came out of shower, Yeah. I signed him.
Yeah.
So that we are just looking for an excuse to, justify the easy way out. Yeah. But when you start to decide in your life, there is no easy way out. Now your business change. Yeah. Your life change. Same with the gym. Like there's no way I feel at all to go and do a leg training right now. But my goal is to get my legs fucking trained. Yep. So I pay the price. And that's what I love. The Stoics, they said, you know what? If you're not invited to the party, that means you haven't paid the price of the invitation.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny, what you said about gym, for example. What I find, and this is why working with people, like coaches, for example, like yourself, is so valuable, right? You can go to the gym and you can have like a basic workout, right? You can just go in, do your arms, do your chest, and like, sure, like you might have lifted some good weight. You stayed in there for an hour and a half. You might have had a decent workout, but were you sweating like crazy? Were you like, really pushing the limits, right?
Could you wash your hair?
Was the floor wet, like probably not. And 9 times out of 10, and I actually found myself in that position for like probably a long time, a couple of years, right? Where I go to the gym, I do my routine, and I don't have any aspirations to be some monster, right? But I want to stay in shape. I want to, keep my body, my physique. But I was like, damn, I'm just not like, I don't feel like I'm pushing myself, whatever it is. So what did I do? I instantly signed up for boxing gym and start going to their strength and conditioning classes with these savages that are like these, monster boxers.
You called out, you took an honest assessment to yourself, and you said, I'm not going to do it in the future either. So I better put me in a fucking situation where I have to do it.
And you know what the benefit is? Maybe you don't have the willpower to do that intense of a workout by yourself, right? But when you show up to the class and you have that coach telling you, do this, do that, do that, you can't say no.
No.
You just have to do it. So I coined this expression where you outsource your willpower to a third party. You outsource your willpower to somebody else, right? Yeah. So when I show up to that strength and conditioning class and that coach says, we're going to run for a full hour, you're going to do all these crazy exercises, you're going to get like 1 minute break every, 25, 30 minutes. It's like, I'm just going to do it. I'll be dying. I'll be sweating like crazy. And then I had the workouts where I was literally dripping with sweat. The floor was wet. My clothes were soaking wet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had that intense workout just because I was like, let me just give it to somebody else, put myself in their hands, and I just do what they say.
I will tell you something, Simon. Listen, first of all, I think it's a smart move, but I will always coach my clients not to do that. Because this is me going against my principle. Purpose over pleasure. So I would be the guy who would say, I'm going to fucking eat myself, weak ass, pussy attitude, go to the gym and man the fuck up. See, that would be me, right? Saying that to myself. Why am I doing that? Because I learned, and don't get me wrong here, Simon, I'm saying that's smart. I learned that what I do somewhere, I do anywhere. And that's so right for my case. So when I was a little bit slippery slope in that particular part, it could be a small part. It could just be, not, I'm too lazy to get the milk because I'm stressed and I know I need milk at home. I'm just going to do it. It could also be, don't push myself in the gym. So, okay, I choose the easy solution or an easier solution where I still get it, right? It's a more comfortable solution. When I realized, Simon, that, fuck, man, I'm actually doing this in so many areas in my business, in my private life, to my friends, la la la. So I had to align myself. I had to completely align myself. What I learned from that was you can do so much more than you can imagine.
Yeah,
Simon, you're so strong. You have no idea how much strength you have in you for every area of your life.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that. So that learning for me was, if I can't do it myself, because there won't be a third party willpower for me.
Yeah.
Maybe here.
Yeah. It's true. It's definitely true. But I think that's the benefit of a coach, right? It's like if you don't have the answer or you don't know how to get yourself to that point, you work with a coach.
You work with a coach, yeah.
And they will get you there. And then you understand the path, and then you can do it by yourself.
New perspective. That's it.
100%.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about your book, Above Average, and we have them right here on the table.
Yeah.
What inspired you to write, these books?
It's a funny story. Above Average was because I was so fucking frustrated on the clients I was coaching. Literally, I've been coaching. So I've been coaching different. So I've been when I stopped being an entrepreneur with tech businesses, I jumped straight into fitness coaching because fitness was a passion of mine, and I wanted to try it out. And in that was in Denmark, just in Denmark. And there we managed to actually have more than, I think it was 3,700 clients through our coaching business. I didn't coach all of them. I had client managers who had better educations than me. But I was always observing. Mm-hmm. And the amount of excuses, and, first of all, everyone that came into that business, I'm so excited, man. I want to lose weight. I want to look like Brad Pitt, or, I want to be the best wife for my husband. And 3 weeks later, it just drops off. Yeah. They get off. And I was naive. I came in, I was like, what the fuck is wrong? So doing that for so many years, then I started a coaching business because I became, through my journey, as we spoke about in the beginning, I became very good at mastering myself, self-mastery, literally. And from there, I started coaching entrepreneurs that was having the feeling of feeling stuck. So I coached them through a process, which is an online course in Denmark, which is running right now, is doing really well. And from there, I saw the same pathetic excusing for yourself on just a higher level. So it's entrepreneurs, they're quite intelligent, they have done something, they have at least a higher amount of accountability. But again, I can see they were hitting some kind of excuses, and I just fucking had it. And then I wrote Above Average in 1.5 months. I was angry.
Yeah. Wrote it from a place of just like,
I was angry.
Do it.
I was angry, but I wanted to give that anger a very constructive output. So I used my energy of anger to give something constructive. So it's a manual of how you really reprogram your mind, and how you really how you master yourself on a higher level.
And where can people get the book?
On Amazon, any Amazon bookstore online, you can get it.
Physical, Kindle as well?
Kindle as well, and the audiobook will probably be out in 3 weeks. I'm speaking it myself.
Yeah, you're doing it?
Yeah, I'm doing
Fucking do it.
No, and actually this book, Above Average, is endorsed by, Robin Sharma.
Okay, yeah.
And other great people. I just reached out to them, on social media, and I said, I have a fucking good book here. I really think it's a good book. Can I send it to you? And they endorsed it.
They love the book.
They apparently they wrote some good stuff about it.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's another example of something that people wouldn't do. They write a book, they put it up. They don't think to even reach out to big people and it's like, hey, can I send you my book for free? And you get a great endorsement.
Yeah, I had made a list of 100 people, and I just went crazy.
Hammered it out.
Yeah, just hammered it. Yeah.
Okay, man. I think we'll wrap there, but I think that was a fantastic podcast. A lot of great nuggets in there, great lessons for everybody. I think, you've already had a great impact on people. I think, over the next 5-6 years, people are going to be hearing a lot more about you, and they'll be able to look back on this podcast and be like, this is the beginning of a really cool journey. And if you want to get the book, Amazon Above Average, and appreciate your time, brother. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Simon. Thank you for being an amazing host, and good chat, bro.
Very good chat. Very good chat.